Hi. Yes, I've grown a beard. And now that we've got that out of the way, today I want to explore what sort of person will like my novel. Well, let's start with the story's premise, the hook. Imagine you're living a good way into the future and everyone around you believes the world has become an endless megacity. The countryside is dead, you could say. It's all been developed and built upon in some way. But more worrying is that people think this is a good thing, a sign of progress. You, however, are convinced that the maps everyone follows, just like you and me today with Google and Apple Maps, might somehow be misleading you. You also remember how your grandfather used to rave about a beautiful place called the countryside. So you become obsessed with the fantasy that somewhere a thin slice of countryside, pristine and unpolluted, must still exist. What are you willing to risk to find it? So you can imagine the adventures that my protagonist goes on based on that dilemma. It's a speculative thriller. And my ideal reader? Well, if you're someone who easily gets bored, funnily enough, I think you'll enjoy my novel. In writing every paragraph, I tried to ask myself, could my reader get bored here? Because I've got this horror of that happening. If I am expecting somebody else to read this, then my job is to jolly well make sure I'm not letting them down on their investment of time and money. In short, this book is kind of a trip, and I can guarantee you will go places. But I couldn't just write an action-packed adventure story without any depth at all. That's not me. There are so many problematic questions about how we live at the moment. Do we really, truly want to live our lives staring at screens as much as we do already? Are we in the long term going to keep creating distance between fellow humans as we are currently, however necessary that may be? And what are the effects of slowly removing the ways in which we have communicated for centuries? Hugs, face-to-face contact, not just on Zoom, pleasant, witty conversation. And what will happen to those members of society who may never be able to really stay up to date with the relentless technology revolution? We see this happening with people amongst us already. Here's another one. What is the next step after wearable technology, eh? Surely that's one of the most concerning questions. Because if technology enters the human body still further, we're going to have to ask, are we still human? This could mean we label ourselves cyborgs, those half-human, half-robot characters in sci-fi films, and I know that some people do actually identify as cyborgs already. But perhaps there's also something unmistakably human about us that technology could never take away, however much it becomes wired into us. Personally, this is one of my hopes. And also, it's a hope of my protagonist, Ben Lee. Finally, what are we doing to our environment? I won't go into that now, but that's just another area. Think back to some of my earlier videos about the building and that sort of thing. That's something also that my protagonist has to live with, although not in ways you might imagine. So if you're interested in where all this around us is heading, you'll enjoy so much of what this story has to offer, I can guarantee. Now, if you like to read historical romances, my book may disappoint you, though I did find that my characters just had to have passionate sex now and then. That was usually when I was getting a little bit bored, one of the perks of being a writer. Well, not the getting bored, but that you can direct what happens. But if you do like a gripping yarn and characters you can really root for, if you like discussions of what it means to be truly human, to be social, or if you just like reading or watching a good thriller, maybe a bit of sci-fi, if you enjoy poetic language even, imagery, I do think that I can entertain you. In future episodes, I plan to read a scene or two from my novel. I'm looking forward to that. Thank you for joining me for today's episode.